Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with If I Could Choose Only One Work by Composer X, it would have to be Work J. Well, the composer in this case is rather interesting. It's Bernard Herrmann, good old Benny Herrmann, as he was called in the biz. And the work in question is the soundtrack or suite from, you guessed it, Psycho! Yeah! I mean, how can we not include Bernard Herrmann in this list of great composers? He was certainly one of the greatest composers of the 20th century. I mean, when a composer is the best at what they do, we generally consider them a great composer, especially when what they do is something really special or extraordinary. I mean, we consider Wagner one of the greatest composers of the 19th century, and all he wrote were operas. I mean, there were some other little things. Well, Bernard Herrmann wrote film scores, film music, primarily, incidental music, and he wrote some other works, some of which are very fine. He wrote a symphony. He wrote some orchestral works. He wrote an opera, Wuthering Heights. He wrote the cantata, Moby Dick. He wrote, a bunch of other things as well. But what really, really mattered are his film scores. And he knew the value of what he did because he did his own orchestrations primarily, and he saved everything. He used to advise other film music composers. He would tell them, save everything that you did. And he made suites out of many of the film scores that he did, and other people have arranged them since as well. But boy, is this good music. He had an incredibly distinctive style. Some people said that he overused sequences, which he could. I mean, he could. That was a failing. But then again, Elgar did the same thing. It hardly makes any difference. You know, Elgar's second symphony finale is I mean, that's a sequence. And it's no worse than when in the seventh voyage of Sinbad, Herrmann goes blam, 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 do, 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 blam, 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 do, 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 blam, 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 do, 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 blam, 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 do, 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 ya-da-da, ya-da-da-da-da. I mean, he probably got it from Elgar. He was a huge British music fan, and he adored Elgar. You can hear the influence of Elgar most plangently at the very end of the overture to North by Northwest, when the woodwinds are going, does that thing, that business, which is the end of the scherzo of Elgar's second symphony, niftily cribbed. But Psycho is such an extraordinary score. First of all, it's written only for strings. And that's remarkable because, film music is supposed to be, glitzy and full of interesting instruments and incredibly colorful. But in this case, the color increases the feeling of dread. Herrmann wanted something that was monochrome, in the same way that Stravinsky did when he wrote his ballet Apollon Musaget, only for strings. He wanted a white sonority. Well, you might say that Herrmann wanted a gray sonority because his string writing is spooky, but it's so memorable. Think of how many, forget the shower scene screech. Weak, 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 weak. That thing. One of the scariest things anybody ever invented, and an instantly iconic, identifiable sound. And someone who can do that with just normal instruments without being like insane harmonically or anything. It's just something that he came up with. And just for that sound shows him to be a master of timbre, of sonority, of atmosphere. All of those things are musical qualities that you can't really quantify like you can harmonic theory and things like that. But they're just as powerful and just as extraordinary. But then think of all of the other ideas in Psycho, which are immediately memorable. The very opening, jump, 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 jump. It's psychotic, it's obsessive, and then it's unforgettable music. And unforgettable music, I got to tell you, is great music. period. I don't care what anyone else has to say about it. And I think the snobbery that's aimed at composers who specialized in film scoring and film music is completely unwarranted, because they were unquestionably some of the greatest composers of the 20th century. We're going to talk about a couple of others in this list. But Bernard Herrmann is certainly primus inter pares, first among equals, an extraordinary composer who, what can I say? And if anything's going to survive, we have to pick this, because we have to tell the god Cancrozans that he should not destroy all of classical music and leave only one work per composer. Because with Psycho, we can say to him, how can you let everything else go? There's a world out there of fabulous music, and this is going to be the one remaining exemplar of it. Sure, it's great, but can you imagine how much more there is to experience? And I know he's going to want to experience it. I know it, because he has that feeling for, tactile, direct hitch in the gut kind of, solar plexus poking, timbral extravaganza, the kind of thing that Herrmann did so very well. And so that's the choice, I think. Oh my. I think we're getting somewhere with him. I see cracks appearing in his facade of, malevolent intent. I really do. And maybe the Bernard Herrmann selection will begin to, convince him that the classical music world is bigger than he might have thought. And that's the important thing. It really is. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.